Hey guys, so I wanted to make a video today going over how I became a web developer, full stack. So I've been developing since, let's see, March of 2015. So, I don't know, I guess what is that? Let me do the math on that. 2018, March, getting close to 4 years, like March 2019 will be 4 years. Okay, so how did I get started with coding? Well, I must give you a little bit of a backstory. When I was 20 or 21, I went to when I was 20, I started electrical school. It was just a technical college, like a trade school. I think it was I don't know. I want to say it was probably a 1-year program, actually. It was like 1,000 something hours. So a 1-year program of going to school pretty much all day long. I think it was like 7 in the morning until 2 p.m. or so, every single day, 5 days a week for like a year. So I got an electrical certification to be basically an apprentice electrician. So right after I finished school, I swear within the first week I got a job as an electrician. It was me and an electrical contractor who's been in the industry since he was probably like 30 years, or no, since he was been in the industry for 30 years. So it was just him and I working with one another, doing commercial, industrial, residential, electrical work of all magnitudes, just him and I, like wiring up entire places. I did that for a solid year, and I was like, this just isn't the path for me. Like, I don't want to be crawling through attics, crawling underneath houses when I'm 40 something, 50 years old. It was hard work, in all honesty, and some aspects of it were so redundant that it almost sickened me, in all honesty. Like, I hated getting all of the stuff out of the van. There's tons of supplies we had to get out, how to dig holes, how to crawl underneath houses, attics, all that stuff. And I saw him, he was in his 50s, crawling in attics and crawling under houses. Man, I don't want to do this when I'm 20, let alone 50. So I gave that up. I was in a fortunate position where I could go back to school and try and figure out what I want to do, and also work like 35 hours a week on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. All right, so how did I get started with coding? Before March 2015, I can honestly say that I have never coded before. I think what got me interested in it initially was that my grandfather was a programmer for his entire career. So I think 20 or 30 years. He retired very early too, actually. So maybe it was from like 20 years old to 50. He was working on mainframes and using COBOL, Fortran, assembly. Yeah, those are the 3 programming languages that he said he used. He used to code software for banks. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I was in college. I currently do not have a bachelor's degree, although I'm like 7 or 8 classes away from it. My last 2 jobs it wasn't super required to have a bachelor's degree. They got me in. So as of right now, I have an associate's in arts degree, but even without a degree, I work with several people without a degree who earn far more money than I do and are far better developers than I am currently. But so introductory to programming course is what I signed up for in college. So it's an intro to programming course. We basically learned out of a Python book the entire time. So it's definitely nothing that you can't do on your own without going to college. So it was starting out with Python. That's the name of the book. You should Google it. It had some bananas on there. If you could find a newer version, I would recommend that too. Python's an easy language to get into for a beginner as far as programming is concerned. Syntax is so friendly. All right, so registered for that introductory to programming course, thinking that I probably wasn't going to like it, in all honesty. I was thinking programming is probably going to be boring. That was my initial thought going into it. I was like, I'm gonna try it out, see if I like it. I probably won't. It might be too heavy in math. It might be too complicated. I might just not enjoy it. I might find it boring, right? I took it, and I swear to God, like first day or two, it was love at first syntax. Like first print hello world, which was like the very first thing they had us do, right? I thought that was awesome. I was like, holy crap! I was sucked in immediately. I was like, wow, I can output this to the screen by using this. And I just learned for loops, while loops, all the loops basically. that Python had to offer. And then I learned functions, and I got into if-else, elifs, and all that conditional stuff. Got into, does Python have switch statements? I'm not 100% sure if Python has switch statements. I might be confusing that with another language, but they may have switch statements. I don't know. I haven't touched it in a couple of years, to be honest. So mostly I do JavaScript and PHP. But sidetracking. All right, so I took Introductory to Programming course. Didn't think I was gonna like it. I really liked it. So at that point, right when I discovered that I really liked this, not only did I do good in the programming Introductory to Python class. Okay, so through Googling around and trying to decide which programming path I want to go on, I actually stumbled across web development. And it was like, web development's a lucrative career right now. There's so many jobs in demand, not enough people to fill these roles, right? Well, I was like, whoa, I want to be a programmer, and there's jobs that are like, we need so many people, we don't have enough people to fill these roles. It was awesome. Seemed like a really good opportunity, right? So I was thinking, So let me give you also another sidetrack note here. At this time, I was in college full-time, so I was taking 4 classes a semester. So it was like 12 credits a semester. I didn't want to like go 15 credits to go ham on it. But I was probably like 20, I don't know. I was in my early 20s. So, all right. So college full-time. Working at a restaurant 35 hours a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was working like 12-hour days, all 3 days. 12-hour days, right? So school Monday through Thursday, full-time, college. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 12-hour days at a restaurant. I did delivery driving, I did cooking, I did dishwashing, I did cleaning up the restaurant, I did every single role you could possibly do. The owners even wanted to promote me to a manager, but I declined. In addition to that, yes, I had a wife at the time, and I still have a wife. But at that time, I had a wife. Wait, no. She was my fiance at the time. So she was my fiance. I was soon to get married, I think in a year after, around that time, right? So, working at a restaurant, 35 hours a week, going to school full time, and you know what I did on the side? And I had a fiance also. On the side, I taught myself how to code, right? So I was Googling around how to get started as a web developer. I think somewhere along the lines I probably saw like, oh, no degree for certain jobs, and I was working on a degree. So I was like, oh, cool, yeah, I can get a job after I get a 4-year degree and all that. Well, I got a job before that. Let me spoiler alert here. Spoiler alert. So, okay, so Googling around online, knew I wanted to be a web developer, knew I wanted to teach myself how to code at home. I called it the College of Christopher Adams, believe it or not. I made jokes to my wife. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do the College of Christopher Adams right now, actually. And so I went to college, and I still was continuing college, still was continuing work, and on the side, I would say I'd spent about 15 hours a week learning code. First resource I used, outside of my Introduction to Python book, this was straight out of Intro to Programming. I only took the 1 class. I only learned some basic stuff like looping, conditionals, variable assignment, just the bare basics. I didn't even get into classes, object-oriented programming. I didn't get into anything advanced at this point. So I was like, okay, teach myself web development. Googled around, I came across John Duckett's HTML and CSS book. You can Google it, you can Amazon it, John Duckett. Highly recommend that book. Every day I sat down, I opened that textbook, I opened up some notes, and I seriously read that book cover to cover. Every single page. Didn't skip. Every single word of every single page. And I was trying to get the most out of the book. I was like, I'm going to learn HTML and CSS, and I'm going to do it the right way. I don't want to half-ass it. I want to do it the right way. So I read through the book. I took handwritten notes. You don't have to take handwritten notes, but I think it sticks better in the mind if you take handwritten notes, right? So I took handwritten notes, and I also coded on my computer. So I had my laptop open, I had a notebook open with a pen, and I had the book open, right? So I read something, I'm like, oh, this is interesting, I want to remember this. So then I wrote it by hand into the notebook. I was like, this div tag does this, and I wrote it out. And then I opened up my computer, and then I tried writing a div tag, seeing what it does in the web page, step by step, follow through John Duckett's book. Worked out good. I made it cover through cover, cover to cover, and learned HTML and CSS, the basics. You know, at this point I was thinking, oh, this will be a good introductory, you know, and it was good. So the next thing I did is, now that I have HTML and CSS, the basics under my belt, and I knew how to build ugly 90s looking web pages in the year, like a few years ago, which is pretty sad, but they were some ugly pages, right? So I was just building personal portfolio sites, site after site after site, ChristopherAdams.com, ChristopherAdams.com. I don't even have a portfolio site right now. The portfolio site wasn't needed for this current job that I have, or the job before that, believe it or not. Not every place is gonna say, hey, let me see your portfolio. But made like probably 10 ugly portfolio sites, to be honest, and it was just with straight HTML and CSS for a lot of them. I was just trying to bang out quick little designs, and I was so worried and so caught up about designs. I was like, man, how am I ever gonna be a good front end at this time I was just doing front end, so I'm like, how am I ever gonna be a good front end developer or designer if I just make the ugliest looking web pages? I'm never gonna, it's gonna take me a long time. I didn't say I'm never gonna do it, but I just thought, like, it's gonna take me a long time to get to where some of these nice sites are, right? Little did I know, can leverage stuff like CSS frameworks, which makes ugly styling look pretty nice. So cover to cover through the book, building several portfolio sites with just HTML and CSS, just blank page, not copy pasting, just trying to do my best job that I can with what I've learned, right? I did that I spent way too much time on that. I probably spent like 6 months of just HTML and CSS. I got into CSS3 media queries, which, if you don't know, it has different breakpoints for different screen sizes. So it can be for mobile, it can be for laptop, iPad, tablet, what have you, whatever screen resolution, right? And I would go like this to the page, make it smaller, and see it responsive. And every single breakpoint I specified in CSS myself, custom. Thousands of lines of CSS, thousands from scratch I wrote. That's why I say I might have spent too much time on it, because you can leverage stuff these days. It's good to know how to do that, but maybe not spend 6 months going crazy with it. So that would be my big advice. Unless you want to be a heavy-duty web designer. If you want to be a web designer, then go for it. Or if you want to be good with web design, then go for it. Or if you just have a lot of extra time and you're not in a hurry to get your career started, which, if you aren't in a hurry, that's excellent. You should take some time learning stuff through and through.